north of the Lunar Rift. I'm a member of Britannia Mining Company, and I'm the proprietor of the Future Lock Lake Tavern in Black Rock Cove. Welcome. I have a great staff here at the cafe. Come on, take a look around. I have seating for over 60 people. I mean, who wouldn't want that, right? Hello, do I have your attention? Okay, how about this? How about I just show you around? Take a look. Alright, follow me, come on. I mean, everybody remembers the interview with Lord British, right? That was hosted here. Lunch with Lazarus, Postmortem. That's right, food vendors are here. Stock up all your food needs. With those incoming buffs, everybody's going to want food here, right? Okay. Well, that said, I have Avatar's radio as well. I have 4 radios located throughout the cafe for digital surround sound for all your needs. You want bulk orders? Hello. Focus, on me. I can take bulk orders. I can do this. I can do that. Alright, how about this? Raise your right hand and say, I solemnly swear I will go to Briar's Cafe. Good. See, that was easy. Anybody can do that. Alright. So, friends, Briar Vesper, and I hope to see you at the cafe, right?
This table's a trap.
I'd like to give a special thanks to all my guildmates and community. Without your support, this small idea would never have been possible. Thank you. You guys are the best.
Alrighty, and greetings everybody. This is Laz with NBNN, and we are here in advance of the postmortem about to happen here. The folks in Portalarium do a live stream every second week of the month. What do you mean this table's a trap?
I can't get out.
We are going to be doing what we do every month, which is taking a look at the last release and then taking a look ahead to what's up and coming.
Here we go.
Thank you for joining
Look, there's
us.
a lady that stole my name
If you'd
away
like to
from
ask
me.
a question live, we are in IRC chat, which
Alright,
is
we are on the
available
air.
on our webpage, shroudoftheavatar.com, or if you have a dedicated IRC program, you can use that to join us as well. Let me go ahead and get things started by turning you over to Lord Richard Garriott.
Indeed. Thank you, Gina. Thank you, everybody. Welcome to this month's Postmortem. Another very exciting release. I would, of course, like to start by repeating our thank you to all of you for your support, for your faith in us, and let you know that we're continue to work diligently on your behalf. And I believe we're in a very good time here. Many of you have been following along this last month. Know that we've been sort of realigning the team to start pushing to the final months of development. Hired a few new people, pushing really hard on getting content to the game. Very exciting stuff went into Release 21. All thanks to you. Star, do you want to add in there as a preamble?
Yes, I will also thank our amazing community. I feel like a slightly broken record, but it's amazing because it's true what an amazing community you guys are. I've never seen a community like this, both creative and supportive, and offering critique and balancing that with support, both monetarily and through positive feedback and reinforcement. So thank you. I too was blown away by what this team was able to accomplish in Release 21. The complete change to the way our advancement works.
Mostly complete.
Well, mostly complete.
We'll get to that part later.
Well, as in most things in our game, complete-ish. But basically changing the fundamentals to the way advancement works. So moving to a use-based system, which is much more amenable and to a sandbox type game, which is what we're trying to build. And the fact that we were able to, get a big chunk of that work done in a single release and get it into the players' hands and start collecting feedback. Just an amazing team that we work with. And a lot of it is because of you guys. I mean, there's a question that, that came up that I think we're going to talk to earlier about QA and testing and regression, and it's like, how does all that work? And it's like, well, you know, we have a couple of amazing QA guys, but it's a couple. You know, it's two guys, and one of them splits his time in CS, and so you guys are the front line, and you test the game and give us feedback, and we balance it and fix bugs, and that's why there's this flurry of patches in this first few releases. But again, great release. Very proud of this team. Very proud of this community. And you know, we had that great article recently in Tint on Hammer where you know, we were lifted up as an example of how to communicate with the community and how to work with the community. Very proud of that.
Star, I hate to interrupt, but IRC is going absolutely insane wanting to know about those medals you two are wearing.
These are the Scorpion medals. You want to know what this is? Scorpion medal.
Oh, here's all I have to say about that, right here, just right here.
Yes, so we have a guest today, Sir Frank, Master of Coin.
Wave at the camera, Frank. Say hello.
Hello.
And because of his that special guest, our prizes today are some of the coins. We'll be talking about those later that Sir Frank has made. And Sir Frank honored Chris and I by awarding us Scorpion medals for the Order of the Scorpion. And I believe
drunk hangout.
I believe we are the only recipients, the only honorees of the Honor of the Scorpion, as it should be. And I also ended up with this Chaos pendant too, so very excited about that as well. So yeah, we're full of bling today. Thanks, Mr. Frank.
Star talked a really long time there. I'll talk shorter. Hopefully the hangout will not be problematic or stutter or have any lagging issues. I mentioned that because we're sharing bandwidth right now with a new QA build that's being uploaded. We will hopefully put live later tonight, assuming everything goes as planned. It's got a little while left on it, though, but all the stuff Star said, he said he was a broken record, so I'm not going to repeat the broken record. But thanks to everybody. Look forward to continuing to have a great community. So yeah, let's get busy. We got a lot to talk about.
All right. With that, do you want me to dive right into the first question, or
we'll add on stored credit. Love. Oh, he's holding his hand up. I'm gonna hold my hand up too. We're holding our hand up, Lum. Filling dead space. I'm filling dead space. Scorpion medals.
Scorpion, aren't they cool?
Order of the Scorpion.
we can dance?
Look what's going on my screen.
Woo!
I hate to interrupt, but 1-0 is the winner of the add-on store credit, and now Richard will continue with his impromptu concert.
You go, congratulations. You guys can go back to it. I was trying to fill some dead space with something I know that is jumping the gun on next release, where we're not even talking about that. But back over to you for questions.
All right, here we go.
I have a feeling what a lot of the chat questions are going to be now. Our first question for today comes from our website, and remember, when we do these, there are two ways you can ask questions. You can either kind of queue them up ahead of time on our website, where we post the actual Hangout link and article, or you can join us in chat live. And we have a good time in chat live, lots of prizes, lots of fun, sometimes lots of booze, depends. So be sure you hang with us. Jackknife wants to know what changes are going in for Magic that might improve the experience for low-level or non-melee mages.
So as we mentioned, we did make the big switch over to the use-based stuff. We did not finish making the switch. So there's lots of things right now that are unbalanced. Magic, I actually started, believe it or not, looking at the skill tree and going down skill by skill by skill. So all the combat done, but not all the magic got done. There's still a lot of balancing to be done. Also, there's a lot of formulas that have to be redone that were not done in time. So a lot of the magic does not factor in your skill level in it. In addition to that, there's a lot of them that did get done in time that do factor it in, but do not have good tooltip information. So even though you level up, all you get is something that says some generic like, it's 38% more effective, or 29%. So that's kind of the placeholder for the, we haven't quite got to it yet on the tooltip help. We should have most 95, 98% of those done for this release that we're in now. That will help a lot with the balance of the magic. There's also the, there's some formulas, again, just math. Math is hard. We'll have it updated. It'll be better in the next release. Richard?
No, I was just jumping in there. I was just saying lots. I was trying to get in ahead of you to say the word lots, just because I too like to play with magic, and I've been harassing Chris a lot this release. Just because of how nerfed it was, even at with monstrously cheated leveled characters, you really couldn't be effective yet with most of the magic. So don't worry, I'm watching after that too, folks. I am at least one champion on that side. You're going to see a lot of improvements for the next release.
And I will be taking some of Richard's feedback on the making roots last longer periods of time, since we give players a way to break them. And we do have a buff, but yes, next release, a week from now, 2 weeks from now.
Carlin the Archer would like to know if we'll ever see more heavily decorated NPC buildings.
You know, part of that is just an optimization question, you know, so, and as we optimize the game further, of which Chris has been doing a tremendous amount of work the first part of this release before he circles back to use-based systems to do some optimizations. So people should see some improvements there. So as we optimize more, we can add more content. But even then, because we want all of that content to be interactive, we don't want things to just be pretty pictures on the walls. We want you to be able to pick up those things. We want you to be able to turn lights on and off, sit in the chairs, etc. And every one of those has a simulation and a performance cost to them. And especially in towns where there are both NPC buildings and player housing, we want to reserve a lot of that budget for things that players put on their lots. And yes, this affects even single player, because I know that would be the follow-up. Well, you're just thinking about the online. So even in single player, the simulation level on those things is expensive, and we'd rather you be able to add more things to your house than to necessarily an NPC building. That said, there are some places where it is just too sparse, and we'll be adding those, or it's illogical because it's just like literally missing a component. Like the tavern doesn't have like a kitchen in it, so where's the food coming from? So we'll be gradually fixing all those things over time.
We have a magic oven. Our next question comes from the website. Sarah would like to know, when and how will majory, melee, and archery be balanced? And she also has a follow-up question on the schedule for the rest of the year.
Oh yeah, so well, it's not just the rest of the year. I think this was a what's our release date? So and I know that there's some threads going on about that on the forums right now. As we have mentioned, as I mentioned in the last quarterly update, we had originally been targeting sometime towards the end of this year, and while that still would be fantastic if we could do it, it is more important for us to have a game that we feel is ready. So we're really happy right now with this iterative process we're going through with you guys. Absolutely is not an open-ended process. There needs to be an end goal for that, and there needs to be an end date, and you're going to see us start moving more and more towards that concept of wrapping up and polishing and getting finished. But with that, we are not prepared yet to give an exact release date, but we are going to be giving you guys quarterly updates on our schedule like we have been since the beginning. And in fact, I started work on that earlier this week, and hope to have something out for you guys maybe next week, but definitely release week, about the end of the year schedule, which is going to have some really cool stuff in it.
As for the balance side of things, it's known right now. Melee is back to being the overpowered thing. Archery is very effective, except you can't level it up right now. And Magic is underpowered. We'll have that cleaned up and hopefully tuned to a point where mathematically we feel it's balanced for R22. But yeah, just this release was rough with the use space. Of course, we got it out and everything worked fine on the surface, but that's kind of where we knew everything was not quite ready, was on the balance and things. That was the first part of your question. You jumped to the second.
Because that's my job.
And the fans are saying I'm more coherent when I'm drunk, so apparently I should go get a beer.
Okay. Next.
Since we're talking about where we are on the schedule and our kind of philosophy towards a successful release, Hacklon would like to know from the chat room, how do we each and as a team define success?
That's an interesting question. For me, success is defined by, we feel like, and the players feel like, that we're meeting our vision of providing, the spiritual successor to the Ultima games, both single player and online, and that it feels like a sandbox where, your ability to pursue multiple paths and multiple solutions to problems, to live a virtual life, for that space to be very immersive. Those are all from the game experience side. From a business side, the biggest success metric for me would be that people like the first product well enough to help us fund both ongoing support of that first episode and development of the next episode.
And for me, for success, a lot of it is I look at the numbers, trying to gauge how much people are playing release to release. Largely because if we did good this release, people tend to play a lot, although that's a really tough metric to look at in terms of release to release success, because right after a wipe there's a lot of playing, and then it kind of dies down until the next wipe. Star's answer was better. I should get a beer.
Chris? Richard? See, I'm not even coherent.
Yeah, no, I think you said it pretty well too, Star. It's something I think we'll all feel together, and I actually predict that we're going to feel that right now. I mean, that we're on that track. Usually at this point in a project, we know when you're turning and kind of around the last corner, the last big corner, which I would argue we are. At that point, you can sort of see the light at the end of the tunnel and go like, wow, this is going to be a ton of work, and we're going to have a hard time convincing usually our overlords, that this is worth their time and money, and we're in the big fight as to ship date versus features, and we're unhappy in some way or another. If you're in that negative perspective, it's going to be a tough release. On the other hand, conversely, if everyone is still excited about it, and the team's excited about it, and you can just kind of feel that the rhythm of the game is going well, that you're going to have a good launch. And at least for me, there's a new type of way to launch. So, I think that we as a team will be happy with it. I think that the people who are following along and already playing, will be happy with it. The biggest unknown for launch to me is what's going to happen about how are we going to reach the 80% of people who don't even know yet this project exists. And it's actually obviously economically really important, because to get to that level where we have enough financial success to have this release fund the future releases, we need to find a way to reach that 80%. And you may have heard us talk about this in the past, where when we go to trade shows, we ask if people who self-select and sign up to play, something like 80% of the people who are already fans would love to play it. As soon as they saw it, they're here playing it, but they didn't even know we existed. And that's because they're not people who are actively looking to buy games by searching websites, or they're not watching us on Twitter, and they're our Twitch TV to watch these feeds wherever they're not proactive selectors into this digital distribution method. And so I think we still have to solve that just for our economic interests. But as far as quality of game, I think we're doing really well. I feel that we are being successful even at this moment in the journey towards conclusion.
Okay. I think it's time for a prize. This one is, as we mentioned, we've got some coins from Sir Frank. This one is the Oracle coin, and this is a coin I believe you can purchase Relics by Rill, designed and manufactured by Sir Frank. So it's got the Oracle Confirmatory on one side, it's got the Oracle on the other, and then it says Shroud of the Avatar on the edge of the coin. Very cool coin.
And the winner of that prize is Fantalio. I hope he is a follower of the virtues because he's a proud owner of an Oracle coin now.
And Fire Lotus, I can answer some questions over here from the chat, but because if we have a moment, it's been pointed out that we don't have the video link on the website yet.
Oh, I knew I forgot something. See, that's what happens when I do it early.
Okay, so while you do that, I'm going to pick a couple of these questions from the chat. So, Celine Noctua from IRC says, how do healers in a group get experience since they do not do as much damage?
So in the group right now, if you're in a group, you get a share of experience. Currently, it's actually based on your hidden character level. It's proportional to that, which the character level is not used for hardly anything, but that is one of the things it's used for, and that is, it's basically just a non-linear scale that we can put players on based on their total adventure time is what it equates to. And that's one of the places right now we still have that. Since we switched to U-Space, the odds are we will probably pull that out and make it so experience is gained from, uniformly no matter what level people are in the party or how experienced they are. You don't get experience based on damage. It seems to be what they're suggesting. That's not how it currently works, and that's not how it works right now. And as for healers, it's for using your skills. Now, if you're a healer, you're going to be casting your heal spells, and you'll be leveling up your heals. If you're not attacking, that's clearly not important to you. But did I answer it?
I think so.
Okay.
All right. Amber Rain, this is a question for you, Lord British. How was Dragon Con? I heard I have to fulfill the reward of a mission accomplished. Can you confirm or deny this? I think there was some sort of posterior contact involved.
There indeed was, and so you did get a report back of success. You did send one of your minions to do your bidding, to give me a slap on the backside, shall we say. That was completed. I can say that your chaotic behavior spread all the way to Dragon Con, and the con was actually great. I was only there for a couple of days this time because I had a wedding I also needed to attend, but got a lot of people signed up who, in our talks, as is common, 20% of the people were already players of and backers of Shroud of the Avatar, and the more people came to see us and hear about it, were either not yet signed up or didn't know about it. And so passed my phone around a lot to get people signed up for playing in the game, and so I think that the whole trip was a huge success. And personally, just had a great time. Got to be on a panel moderated by Felicia Day, who, of course, if it was just the rest of us panelists, we would have had maybe 100 people in the room, but Felicia was there, so we had 1,000 people in the room. So it's always a good time when you get to go do anything with Felicia.
But the highlight for you was probably the ass slap.
Oh, unquestionably, that was definitely one of the more memorable moments of the con.
Yes, good.
I missed it.
So Amber sent. Wait, who was it who delivered the posterior slap?
I'll look on my Twitter feed because she tweeted it out, but I'll have to go search it back up. The woman's name who.
Someone will probably IRC. Yeah. So
about 10-second lag here. I'm watching.
Okay. All right. Spoon Pat has a question for you, Chris. When will we get the next database drop of skill usage with graphs and brain death?
I hate doing it right now because when things are kind of in a half-broken state like they have been this release, obviously the numbers are distorted where people are using whatever skill is most effective, not whatever skill they want to play. I'll probably get one down. I mean, it's trivial for me to pull those numbers up. I can pull it up now so we can see just how bad things are in the game. But I'll promise get a post on that type of stuff in release 22. Gina will remind me.
And we have clarification that it was Eclipse Maiden, one of our
Oh yes, thank you. That's right.
streams for us periodically. She was the deliverer of the slap. So.
Indeed, and she did it quite well.
Now, was she? I'd be curious to know if she was also under some sort of instructions to then put her hand in a glove and not wash it until she could shake Amber's hand or something like that. So, not sure if that was.
No, but since there were witnesses, there's no reason not to confess. We were out drinking. I will confess that we'd already had a few rounds before she informed me of this deed she needed to perform. But then, of course, I challenged her to do her worst. It took her. She actually got a few lashings in before satisfaction was achieved.
And this was in a public restaurant, correct?
Absolutely.
In the middle of dinner.
Yes, in the middle of dinner, in costume.
Perfect. Okay. All right. Next question.
I don't know if I can follow that up. I'm still tweaking here. I did post a question about player-owned towns, though.
All right. So, so Violation wants to know, in a previous conversation, Lord British said we would be able to buy and upgrade towns in the game after release. You guys don't allow mod drove expansion of building a bank and adding a bank for NPC. How do you plan on allowing progression for towns? Don't put money in, and more importantly, how do you not devalue?
Let me take this first, because let me just so you'll understand what I was describing. Okay. I was describing how what player-owned towns now are done on a lot of those templates is that it's if you buy a certain number of square meters, effectively, of town space, that the templates may be the original template likely could have handled more square meters than you originally purchased. That there may be a way to upgrade during live. That was really the context. Go ahead.
Right. So upgrades live. So for a dynamic town, it is trivial for us to change the size of the town through purchase. That is literally just a data field that changes and is propagated to the live service. So if you have a village and you upgrade it to a metropolis, I mean, that's just a data field that now gives you more square meters that you can place buildings, lots. It gives you more NPC buildings to place, more NPCs to place, etc. So all of that's affected by that. Now, static towns, it's different, and right now we don't have a way to do that without wiping the town and rebuilding it, which for us would be, from a development standpoint, as expensive as doing it the first time. So there's really no way to upgrade a static town without rebuilding it once we launch. And at some point, those folks who, we're going to be talking about making having players make the choice between a static and dynamic town, and if you choose, and once that choice is made, once all your data is entered into the fields and we begin work on it, we'll be blocking those from further changes other than upgrading the size. Okay. All right. The next question, Spoon says, any news or update on the dragon? He's big.
Heard about that. I was in the live game and people were running around in the live game searching for it. They obviously don't read release notes.
Yes. What's shocking? No one reads the things I write. It's so weird.
For publishing QA, do you know if it's added to a scene or is it only test scenes right now?
I think it's only test scenes.
I know Jesus has been fighting it and dealing with it. And upgrading it and adding abilities and stuff. But I don't know if it's been put into the actual final locations for you, so it probably won't be visible on QA.
If you do somehow manage to find a QA, we'll probably be in a mid-development broken state. However, when it does work, it's pretty spectacular. The thing is huge. We're doing a lot of improvements to the fire effects, allowing dynamic scaling of those. That's been in the background. I just went like that because he's been working on those kinds of changes. He's our first creature where we're trying to give him the ability to both fight on land and fight from the air, which is proving very challenging, as you might expect. But everyone around here seems fairly confident that we're going to be able to solve all those problems. At least get him to a workable state in the release.
And Star, Smack just asked, is the dragon statue the same size as the dragon?
That is a great question. We don't have a final scale for the dragon you will fight. We're trying to get it as big as we can without breaking the game. But that dragon statue is definitely bigger than the dragon you will fight. All right. I think it's time for another prize. Lum, if you could award an add-on store credit, please.
So the winner of the add-on store credit is, I'm sure I'm going to mangle this name. It's Matthias, but it's spelled M-A-A-T-H-Y-A-S.
Now, if I just saw this correctly, Lord Reddish just said he's going to get a dragon. Let's see if he can find a dragon. This is going to be interesting.
Sorry, couldn't resist.
This is a good time for my disclosure that sometimes our Hangouts get a little bit PG-13.
Thank you. Okay. All right, next question.
Our next question comes from Smoker KGB. He actually has two. He would like to know a little bit more about whether there is a skill cap or a soft cap for skills, and he also would like to request something like a salvage all button and know if it's possible to salvage multiple items at once.
So I'll answer the salvage one, and then I'll hand it over to Chris to talk about the first question. So that's a great suggestion about the salvage all. It's not a trivial change. We don't currently have tech to support being able to, quote, make multiple items and salvage multiple things at the same time as the reverse of that. So it's the same tech required, basically, and it changes some of the architecture behind how recipes relate to crafting stations, relate to items and materials. However, with all that said, it's a very cool idea, something we'd like to support. Firelord has actually had a really good suggestion about if we did do something like that, have it so that, maybe it affects your return rate, like what you get out of it, versus if you're just concentrating on salvaging one item versus multiple ones, maybe there's a slight decrease in return exchange for it. Okay. Next question.
You didn't get my part.
Oh, sorry. Yes, your part.
The skill cap. Right now there actually is there's a cap at 150, but players will not be able to reach that amount. So the soft cap is where the decay side of things comes in. And there will be ways to counter decay, which I think we'll probably talk a little bit about later because we've got a number of questions about it. But just because of the exponential curve on the experience, there's no physical cap really that people can hit, but there will be a soft cap where they won't be able to progress because the decay is a tiny, tiny percentage of the experience and skills. So when you get up to a certain point, you will eventually reach some level where you're earning and losing experience kind of at the same rate, unless you up your play experience or up your play, how much experience you're earning per hour. But again, that's very high, and there also will be ways to get around decay. So maybe somebody will reach those caps, but again, it's insane. It would take more, if anybody got close to 100 this release, I haven't actually gone to look, but it would take more experience all applied to one skill to get it to 150 than it takes to get to level 100 right now. So really the 100 was set as kind of the only master players will achieve it level, grandmaster level, and traditional players we expect to get in the 40 days.
Okay. Next question.
Our next question comes from Winter Dragon, and she would like to know the future of zoning. And I apologize in advance if I get your name wrong or I get your sex wrong. Sometimes I just have to work from the avatar and guess. So, again, the future of zoning.
And by zoning, I'm assuming that you're referring to the ability to teleport. And
Yes,
so make something.
Because it is very useful for social events, for example. So I would imagine zoning to a player or zoning to a place for an event is what they mean.
So as we've stated in previous releases, previous hangouts and various discussions, we want to have regional economies. We want to have location matter in the game, both from resources and crafting, and economic means, and player towns, and etc. To do that effectively requires that we make it so you can't instantly travel anywhere in the game whenever you want. With that said, we do understand the need for that and the convenience associated with that. And so over time, we would be moving all of this to craftable consumables that players can make in the game that will have limits to them, like you can only use a certain number per day, or there's a certain cooldown that's time related. Those will be coming in the game later, and but there will be multiple ways for you to get to where you need to go through teleports. There will just be costs associated with those, and time and certain limits imposed.
And also things like the lunar rifts is another thing that just won't be as convenient. It'll be very specific to locations, and there'll be ways to get around. And Smack was just saying something, I missed his whole thing, but kind of the idea would be that we could then use lunar rifts if we're having events or GM events or something like that. We could point lunar rifts more towards the GM event scenes. It's the way to let people get there quickly.
Or we could have some concept of like an event portal that we throw down that is a time limited gate that people can run through.
Or we just give out a reward if everybody gets a coupon to teleport to the event.
Okay, next question.
Our next couple of questions come from Bubonic, which is one of my all-time favorite names, by the way. I don't know why, I just do like it. Currently, he's saying that some new players are having a hard time with the tutorial and wants to know if there will be any tweaks or modifications. And in fact, we've had a lot of questions about balancing and that sort of thing, both in chat and on the website. So maybe if you could address game balance in general and where we're moving towards, that would be great. And he would like to also know when they'll be able to start testing single-player offline mechanics.
I'll answer the second one first because it's a quick answer. So single-player offline, because it does not allow us to collect metrics, it does not allow us to troubleshoot issues, etc. We do not plan on letting people play that until right at, near, after, maybe even after launch. It'll be a little while till we get to those. And as far as the new user experience and the balance, we're working really hard that in this upcoming release in 22, we will have the Island of Storms, which is this floating island in space where you meet one of the protagonists and you have discussions with her. It will feel very familiar to those of you who played Ultima and talked to the Gypsy, and that discussion and interaction with her will both be a tutorial and the way that you, through answering those questions, pick your initial starting loadout of skills and gear.
And for those who don't know, I've mentioned it before, but one of those things that has been proven time and time again on projects that we've all worked on is the first levels you make are the worst. Towards the last ones, you really know what you're doing, you get everything down. So you want to save the most important content for towards the end of the project, and you've got everything figured out. You've got all your, all the assets in place. You've got all the systems in place. So that is why we did not want to do the starting level until now, really, because we know we can do a much better job of it now than we could have done, say, a year ago. So what you've been playing is part of the tutorial, part of the starting, but that's not the real thing. That's just kind of the placeholder that we hadn't done yet. So.
Yeah, and to shortcut the what is always panic over anything I say, as I'm watching RRC go insane, I did not say single player is not shipping with launch. Jesus Christ, like, again, can I just have a conversation with you guys without you going insane?
I'm going to get Star Beer right now.
Wow.
You need Snickers.
Now would be a good opportunity for me to do my immersion piece routine. Maybe I'll cheer you up. Anyway, next question.
And I will point out, single player offline does work, and there was actually a build shift at one point that included it that we quickly fixed. So if anybody's been archiving all your builds, you can now go back and see if you can start any of them up in single player or offline.
Okay, next question.
Our next question comes from Scrado, and he wants to know a little bit about how localization is going to work.
Yeah, so we are, as we've mentioned before, we are planning to crowdsource a lot of the localization, and so we're thinking we'll use Git localization, but if not that, something similar, and we had to put back burner some of the work on that for the last few releases, but we're hoping to definitely get that in the next, maybe R23, get that spun back up and get people actively working on that. And as soon as that happens, we'll broadcast that and get people.
So PKU wants to start a hashtag movement called Save Auto Attack.
Great, absolutely.
For or against?
Yes, I love auto attack. We should keep auto attack. Auto attack's very important. Auto attack's very important for, like, for instance, people who like to stream our content, which is very important to the sharing of our game and very important to the marketing of our game. As most of us know, that the old school methodology of like buying ads and doing press and things like that isn't really how games get success these days. It's really through community, through broadcasting and things like that. And so I think things like auto attack are important for that. But I also think that there's a certain play style that people enjoy related to auto attack.
So that being said, I'm the guy that's been trying to kill auto attack, and Star is very much against it. So I'm not going to fight him on this. I'm not that passionate against. My concern is more a matter of we don't want to add elements to the game, make it easier for players playing in one mode than another to have success. And auto attack, as it was 2 releases ago, was much easier than using free attack. The last release, we kind of broke it in some bad ways and then patched it later on and fixed it. But, no, auto attack will be here. You don't have to keep doing the save auto attack stuff. I'm sorry I scared all of you guys. But Star has put the ban hammer edict or something on me. Auto attack's going to be around for a while.
Well, it'll go nicely with the hashtag I see they're also starting, which is the save single player. Well played, players. Well played.
Are we having fun yet?
Yes, and actually,
I think we should do a prize because it's that fun right now.
Well, actually, this is really good. Players got to see kind of what it's a little bit like to work with me sometimes. That I get spun up quickly about things sometimes. You know, and so does Chris. Anyone who's been in a meeting with us where we feel strongly about something and we have an intense discussion knows what we're talking about.
Not quite to the physical level, but we've had some loud ones and some walkout conversations. So.
Oh yeah, we've walked out of.
We've had yeah. You guys don't think this team occasionally gets down to pretty dang close to fisticuffs? Believe it.
For the fans, just know that is because we're all super passionate about this stuff, and that extends in the meetings when we have.
Yeah.
I mean, we want certain things. We want to make sure the game is great. We're very passionate about it, so it's good for you guys. And we're all professionals at the end of the day, even if it sometimes requires going home and sleeping on it for the night, or requires a beer.
Yeah. Yeah.
So prize, or do you want to do the next question first? Because I think we're on a roll right now. The next question might help that roll.
Oh, right.
All right, so Raven Swiftblow wants to know about dyes. Specifically, bright dyes, black and white dyes, and what their fate is.
Yeah, so right now the few dyes we have in the game are just sampling. That's just us really exercising the system. We hope to have a much, much greater variety of dyes, most of which we will have in the game as craftable items. Right now, you can't make dyes. They're not recipes for them, but the idea is eventually that is where dyes come from. Players will make them. The ones that you buy from the vendors will be ones that players have crafted. There will be a very small selection of colors, exclusive colors, or associated that will either be associated with pledge rewards. So, for instance, one of the pledge rewards is the Royal Elderberry Bush, which is the only way to make Royal Purple, the Royal Purple dye. And so some of them will be part of pledge rewards like that one, and then there will be a few that may only be available through purchase. What that exact list is, we haven't settled on, but again, most of them will be available in the game through the crafting system, and there will be a handful of special colors that will be available for purchase.
And her follow-up question is there a way we could add dyeable versions of previous release hats to the add-on store, like the recent editions of brown dyeable hats for the most current quests?
Oh yeah, and that is great. Like, thank you very much for that suggestion. You know, when we first started adding the hats, we were only making the one version of it, the in-game with the ethical, the virtue symbol on it, which is that little infinity sign with the line through it. We were only making one version. It was only after a few iterations of that we started making another version that you could purchase through the add-on store. And so, yeah, great suggestion that we circled back and make versions that you can get through the add-on store with that. For sure. Great suggestion.
We have a question from Budner, who is requesting the ability to have unoccupied buildings or unoccupied lots, or lots without a building, so they can have a lot with just a garden or a lot with just a vendor. Is that tech possible?
So this is specifically related to the row lots, and row lots, because they are smaller, can be put in much higher densities than the larger lots, and which means more content, which means more performance implications. And so one of the ways that we can get away with that is because we require there always a building there, we can use that to call out anything behind that building. If all of a sudden we make it so those lots can be emptied, then we have the worst of all worlds, where we have very, very high density of items with no ability to call. So it would just, and like for instance, in a place like say Arteris, where there are hundreds of row houses, or my favorite example is Baron Jerkis's player-owned town of Rat's Nest, which is what, like 452 or something?
Yeah, so
row lots,
552
row lots, and like if those were allowed to be emptied and full of items that players place on them, I mean the scene would not run. So that's why it has to be that way. Sorry. Okay, prize. Let's give. What was the last one we did? Did we do an add-ons for a credit or a coin last time?
Credit. We did a credit last time.
Then it's time for another coin. So it's the Oracle coin, but this one is in a gold color. Ooh. Again, these coins made by Sir Frank. Lean in, Sir Frank. Say hi.
Hi. Well, lean in and say hi so they can see you.
Hi. How you doing?
And you can get these cool coins of relics by row. You're muted.
And the winner of the Oracle coin is Laned. Laned wins the gold Oracle coin.
Yay! All right, another question.
Ravenclaw would like to know that about tooltips. Sorry, I'm trying to shorten the question. Will tooltips be changed to show relevant skills or modifications to skills?
Right. Question. Yeah. So this was the question related to. So when you hover over a skill and you get information about what that skill does and what other skills are related to it, and how you can use which skills are related to it as far as like leveling up other skills. Yeah. So, like Chris was mentioning earlier, our move to use-based system meant changing literally every single skill in the game, and we have a lot of them. Multiple schools of different magic, multiple schools of combat. At least 5 to 10 skills in each one of those schools. It's a lot, and so we only got through mostly combat and a little bit of magic. And so, what you're seeing right now is an interim state. So over time, yes, all of those skills will change. The information that's in the tooltip will be updated to reflect what skills are related to which ones. All that's in the works for sure. And in general, we understand that the current state is it's hard to know exactly what's happening when, like why things are going faster or slower when they level up. And so we're gonna, in R22, we're going to have a bar at the bottom of the screen, or 2 bars at the bottom of the screen again, that represents which this is a bit of a disagreement between Chris and I. And so that bar will show how much experience you collected, and then it will fill up and drain as you spend that experience on leveling up.
I'm against it, although the actual implementation idea is my idea. But sorry, I've noticed you're really good with the mouse pad there. I have real trouble with those mouse pads. It seems that you've acquired quite a bit of skill with that. How full was your bar when you were acquiring skill with that mouse pad? Was it really full?
Yeah, it was very full.
Immersion!
Oh, should I do the immersion police routine? Oh, sir, do you know why I pulled you over today? You were breaking my immersion, and so I need to issue you a ticket. Okay, next.
Barnabas would like to know a little bit more about player-owned towns, specifically the NPC vendors. Will the players have a selection of which look or style their NPC will have?
Yeah, and so I think the first part was like, when are they going to be able to place the NPCs vendors associated with the buildings that come with the player-owned town, like the combat shop and the armor shop and the bank and all that stuff. So we were hoping to get that in this release, but we ended up working on another system which we will surprise people with later. And so it's probably going to be next release where the ability to place those NPCs, and you'll have a choice of male or female of each of the types. Like, so you'll be able to decide whether I want a male guard or a female guard, or a male merchant or a female merchant. As far as variety, with a greater variety of look, that'll come in time. Right now, that's kind of on our wish list for release, but we'll get there. Okay, next.
Sorry, I was in the middle of typing.
Sure.
So, I'm not even going to try to pronounce your name, and I'm really sorry, but there's too many vowels. He's concerned that weak or new players may not be able to survive getting through a control point. He wants to know if there are any other options to just running through it and hoping for the best.
Yeah, and well, currently, a lot of those control points you can run through, and that's by design. Not necessarily that you could just run through, but the idea is that because it's a sandbox, we want those control points to not just be you always have to fight through. And so that's why there are other methods. There are side paths. There are the magicians who will teleport you, etc. So it's as designed that you wouldn't necessarily always have to fight through.
And we could get Frank to chime in here, but I know Frank is one of those people who does not do much combat, and for the control points, he pretty much just hopped on rocks and ran around everybody and didn't fight anybody. Yes, there will always be other options.
Okay. I see we have one from Desos. This was from IRC. The music coming in soon. I guess we'll be able to play solo at first, little piano, but you will be able to play the same song as a band too. Yes, actually. That's not going to be later. That's going to be in this coming release. So you'll be able to play the lute and piano together as a quote band, and that will play the ABC notation of the song together in synchronized. So that's already going in.
Yeah, and by the way, I already played. You've already seen me tonight playing the lute, and me and Rick Holtrup were already playing in a band. And we're testing together earlier, and yeah, that's coming along really nice.
Yeah, music's going to be awesome, and we'll add more instruments in over time as well.
And I'll take this chance to do another shout out for Aniko, who's actually the one who wrote the ABC playback mechanism that one and only was able to easily integrate. She went and made changes at his request. And her little game, Mid-Boss, you can just Google Mid-Boss, and I think it actually comes up.
I too, by the way, was shocked. I mean, I didn't look at the code, obviously, but it went from 0 to N pretty darn quick. And the fact that I've already been testing it myself, I'm quite impressed. So with everybody involved, from her to one and only, and anybody else that touched it.
All right, next.
Our next question comes from Widsith, and he would like to know a little bit more about our QA process. I know you mentioned it earlier briefly.
Oh yeah, so build and version control and all that good stuff. So would you like to talk about source control and all those kinds of things?
Oh, sure. If people want to know, we do use Perforce up here. I'm not sure why that's too relevant to people, but just for a project of this size and storing binary data and being able to, roll back, and it's kind of the industry standard. No, we're not on Git or Subversion or any of the other ones. What was the other thing? Build. As far as build stuff, this should probably be one that I do a big brain dump on and tell people about build processes. I've actually talked to a number of other MMO people and Kickstarter people about how we do things and what tools we're using. I think I've mentioned the Kibana stuff before, but
and we use Jira for all our issue tracking and things like that. And as far as QA and regression, like as I mentioned earlier, we have 1.5 QA guys, and us, the development team, and then all of you. So that's our that's how, because we're trying to spend most of our money on content development.
And I've shown a few people who've been into the office before, and I think we've had some interviews to look at. But also for our build process, since we're talking about all the tools, we use Team City. Give those guys a plug. We love their tool. That we pretty much have things down so we can click a button and it does a build and spits out, here's the finished build, patches, uploaded to Steam, put on the server, warranted, set up. And along with that, I'll give a shout out to Burning Code, who put all that stuff together for us, who's amazing. And a lot of you guys know.
Okay. Next.
Our next question comes from another name that has too many vowels for me to even attempt. He was actually wondering about the damage for staves, and I know that it's a similar situation right now with wands, so maybe if you can address those two particular weapons and where they stand.
That's kind of the bottom line, is right now they suck. We have not given them love. We will in a future release. Probably not too far off, but it's we got to hit the things that are most popular first. We had more archers. We did a little bit of love on bows, but sometime in the not too distant future, we'll give a lot of love to staves and wands and make them more effective for casters. Yeah,
so one of our recent hires, a guy named Jeff Mills, I think we introduced him during our telethon. He's been in the process of doing a lot of refactoring of the tools that we use to do data entry for crafting, which is going to, greatly speed up the rate that we can add new recipes to the game, and more importantly, new modifiers.
Greatly increased, such as going from close to 0 each month of the last few months to a positive number, which also means a large positive number.
Yeah, I mean, we won't see the effects of that till 23, because we're still deep in making the system itself. But part of that, I know that's not their direct answer to the wands and stays, but they're a victim of how fast we can create content. And so it's going to greatly speed up, and it'll be a much larger set of modifiers associated with crafting, so much greater variety, and modifiers more specific to the weapon type. So, like, fixing weird stuff like, oh, look, I got a range bonus on my pole arm. Like, well, like, it's not a ranged weapon, so what good is it to do for me to have gotten a range bonus? So that'll all get cleaned up over time.
I'm apparently taking over the questions because Gina needs to take a break. So
actually, I have one more question pulled up before I have to scoot away for just a second. It is a question that has come up quite a bit, and it's about skill decay. And I know that you guys wanted to talk a little bit about that. So.
Oh, yes, and I have a challenge. I have a challenge for our players. So I know a lot of you are concerned about skill decay, and so I have a challenge. What we would love to see is screenshots from people who've seen decay happen in the game, and then a description of how that decay has hurt your gameplay experience. Because we feel like the way we've designed it is, I don't think anyone's actually encountered it yet, and if they have, they probably have not noticed, and it hasn't probably affected their gameplay. But if it has, we would like objective data associated with that so we can discuss it further. Because right now, what the feedback we're getting is just concerns about concern about the idea of it, not actual experience with the system and problems associated with it.
And the purpose of skill decay was so we did not have to put caps on anything. We did not have to limit you to only sword or only, blunt weapons. You can do both bludgeon and swords, all the skills as high as you can keep them up, but at some point they slowly decay. And it's also a big immersion thing. I mean, just not using something for a long period of time, the skill and it does decay. For most people, this will never be anything they have to worry about. It is really something that will only really impact the people who are the absolute top-end players, who are trying to push, their skill above 100, trying to push their skills super high. And now I'm going to watch the chat here to see. Violation says he's decaying right now.
Yeah. Oh, right, and I forgot. I was going to change the name to skill rot or skill necrosis.
Yeah, something sounds even worse.
Yeah.
I like necrosis.
Make it as dark as possible.
Skill atrophy, maybe.
Yeah. Okay. In all seriousness, we understand the concerns about it. We feel like it's a better and cleaner and more elegant solution than like something like, say, a hard cap across all skills, which is honestly the other alternative. And so, again, what would be great and valuable for us is real objective data and feedback about direct experience with the system, and not subjective concerns about what everyone thinks might happen.
And there will be ways to get around skill decay, put skill decay on hold, wipe your skill decay. That's one thing that's been talked about. There's several things Oracle can do for people, or will be able to do for people in the future, in terms of erasing. Like, if you've been offline for a long time and you log on and you're worried that there might be some, up to 3 days of decay accumulated, you might be able to go wipe that away by going to the Oracle and confessing your sins, discussing things with the Oracle, and that might wipe away decay. Also, Oracle blessings that will prevent decay, and other ways that you can actually stop decay from that too. But I think for most people, it's not going to be an issue, and they won't even feel the need to do that. But it will be there.
Okay.
Our next question comes from PKU, who would also like to point out that he loves the skill-based, the use-based system very much. He has a couple questions about pets. Specifically, will there ever be a chance at taming?
Oh, this one, I remember the question. So the question was about, does the level of your skill allow you to tame higher difficulty creatures? Actually, the question was, when will it work that way? And that's actually exactly how it works in the game currently. However, and maybe, I don't know if this was his question or someone else asking later, but I know there were some concerns expressed about leveling, raising your taming skills and how expensive it was. I think that was actually a later question, but I'm going to jump ahead, so we're talking about taming anyway. And Chris is scanning through the questions to see if he can find that one. But someone had brought up, it's one of the few skills that requires, no, not that one. I was looking for the one about the taming collars. So they had brought up the fact that taming collars have to be used to tame something, and that they're expensive to make. They use leather and silver and alchemy and all those different things. So it makes it a very expensive skill to level up. And which actually gave us an idea that a new skill we could add to that taming tree is maybe the % chance that the collar is not used when you're unsuccessful in the taming attempt. So that then you wouldn't use it every time. And then also just something to know about taming. Taming was one of the more challenging skill trees for us to move over to the use-based system, and we got it to a okay, barely workable state in use-based, but we are fully aware that it needs a lot of work.
And there's always the opportunity, because I understand part of the problem is there's really only, you level up the skills by using active skills within that skill tree, and there's only one active skill that has a very high cost. So there may be an opportunity where we add something for like healing your pet later on, some active thing, or caressing your pet, or whatever type of thing.
Also, as a spoiler, the most difficult pet in the game to tame is the cat.
Although cat taming isn't working currently.
What?
Actually, none of the friendly animals can be tamed.
That makes it even more difficult, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's so difficult, it's impossible. By the way, it was Shade Sido who was asking about the expensiveness of the collar and the things like that. So thank you, Shade Sido, for that question, because it gave us an idea for a new skill.
Albus would like to know a little bit more about Blood River, and specifically the thought of collecting trophies, say elf ears, and being able to display them. What are our thoughts on that?
Yeah, so actually, this is another example of a question that led to an idea. So, as some of you may know, when you kill another player in PvP, one of the things you will receive from them, in addition to being able to loot items from them, you'll be able to take a trophy. The first few trophies are going to be a skull, a jawbone, or skeletal hand. We had not thought about providing similar trophies from killing humanoids, but why not? If you can do it killing other players, why wouldn't you be able to do it for humanoids? So, great idea. So we're going to be adding those trophies to humanoids as well.
Of course, thinking out loud, the ones to do that with it would be the best would be the ones that have a name, proper name. Some of our, creatures have a proper name, so we could overload that name into that trophy. That'd be the ones to spawn it with.
Oh, yeah. Cool.
I'll Jira that right now.
Yeah, you do that.
Richard, you don't even have to. I just did.
Ooh, I'm going to bring the Jira window up on my screen, but since you did it, I'll set.
It was a Jira race. The most unexciting race ever.
Well, since Lum won that race, maybe we should do a prize.
Oh, yes. Add-on store credit.
And Richard, you can prepare yourself. People want to know what's up with your finger.
Took a while for that question to come up.
It's an epic story. Epic.
When I was on the moon fighting Martians with my rover.
The first thing I did
We're not allowed to tell that secret.
Shadow and add-on store credit. Shadow, who is not on the moon, but does have add-on store credit.
All right. Hey, and on the question of the finger, Star's story was much better than the truth, I'm afraid. I was doing the amazingly hazardous task known as sitting down at a couch seat in a restaurant when, as I leapt into the seat, I actually put this finger, the ring finger, third knuckle backwards. 100%. Actually folded it back all the way, and thought that was getting better over the last few weeks till I went to Dragon Con at a wedding, and something happened while I was moving luggage and went pop, and so now whatever it was got much worse instead of getting better. So I've just went and had X-rays today. Going to get MRIs early next week, and hope that nothing has to be restuck together. But it's gotten much worse, sadly. So we'll see.
All lies. We all know you're turning into a cyborg. You're already a robot most of the time, anyway.
I'm gonna had to start with a finger. I thought if I just start with a finger, that'd be wouldn't be that big a deal if it's not. I have to let the bugs get worked out first.
Yeah, perfect. All right, next.
Sorry about that. Clicked the wrong button. I'm trying to contemplate the consequences of a sentient finger. We've had several people ask about new add-ons, specifically trees and walls, and that includes Baron Dracus, Redfish, Koldar, and a bunch of others. So could we talk a little bit about upcoming add-ons?
Yeah, so the trees, we'll add more types of trees to the add-on store, but also once agriculture comes online, players will be planting seeds and growing the fruit-bearing trees. So they won't just be add-ons to more trees; they'll also be related to growing and agriculture. So they'll be coming on over time. When you have specific suggestions, like in this case, it was a cypress tree and some swamp-style trees. That gives us things to look for in the speed tree library that we can use to make decorative versions of those trees. So, specific suggestions are great for those. Even better if you can suggest specific species, because that's how they are listed in that library.
And also a shout out to the speed tree guys for taking care of us and getting us lots of speed trees, give you beautiful trees. And you guys can go look on the speed tree site. I think you can just Google speed tree and it'll show up. We've got a lot of trees we've made ourselves, but we also have access to all those speed trees. So if you have any favorites, feel free to post it.
Yep.
Our next question comes from Stendaria, and she actually had quite a few, but we've touched on a couple of them already. So her, I guess, biggest question is, will the final use-based system be complete independent from advancement and level so that success chances and slugs are not bound to a level?
Yes, absolutely. And again, any skills that are still, or combat roles, or any consequences in the game that are still affected by level is just a temporary condition of our transition away from that system to the use-based system.
And the only one that may be the exception to that is we still look at ways to, we try not to gate too much content in the game, but we do want to have some like boss mobs that you can't walk out day 2 and go kill a boss mob. It makes it less rewarding for the experienced player. So there may still be some minor math that goes in behind the scenes for level versus PvE level. But again, that's an internal discussion that we continue to have, and whether or not it's really necessary.
Okay. Next.
We have Marcelo, who would like to peek behind the curtain, so to speak. He wants to know who has the most organized desk in the area, and likewise who has the least organized or desk worthy of chaos, and would also like to know how much our coffee machine works out during the course of time. He sees how much our shot glasses go up. Was wondering about the coffee mugs.
Well, what we'll do is we're going to walk over and we're going to look at my desk and Richard's desk. So,
and while you're walking, by the way, I'm going to take my webcam here and show you, because I have 2 desks. I have a New York desk and a Texas desk. First of all, you'll see that behind me, this is my workshop, so it's actually full of just literally piles of junk. But watch this desk view. Let's see. Going over to one side, we've got some empty silica drying bags and an old printer cartridge. plenty of old cables piling here. Oh, look, a baby monitor. Oh, look, there's the keyboard. Oh, look, here's a whole bunch of USB sticks kind of piled on top of this drawer that has paper inside of it. And that mess continues as you go up and around. So, oh, look, and there's my Austin, Texas desk.
So here's Richard's desk. You can sort of get to the mouse and keyboard, kind of. And then let's see. We'll go look at. Actually, I don't even know what the current state of mine. Oh, it's actually so. There's my desk. Little more organized. I could not even see it. Oh, there we go. So there's my desk. So I'm a little less chaotic. So this is actually a good illustration of like how Richard and I talk about our real game personalities are the exact. Our in-game personalities are the exact opposite of our real-world personalities. I have a very neat desk and a chaotic character in the game. So.
And I have a chaotic desk and a virtuous character in the game.
So. There you go. That was a nice little field trip. And now we're back. Technology.
So, Chris, maybe you could talk about the coffee question, because I've seen you make coffee.
Yeah,
I've experienced that before.
We have quite a few early morning people, which surprisingly, there's only a few early morning people that actually drink coffee. Most of the coffee drinkers come crawling in later. I guess they're the ones that need the help getting going in the morning. But yeah, I think we go through about 5 pounds of coffee a week. We do not have a lot of people up here. That's a lot of coffee for that many people. But yeah, we're big on the coffee.
I think the coffee consumption goes up the closer we get to a release. So if we started charting it, I think we'd see a big spike on release week.
I'll try to get that in my metrics.
We'll start.
Put screenshots in Kibana from you guys.
Yeah.
That's really a great way for us to measure the success of a build, is how many pots of coffee.
Oh yeah, because if it's less pots of coffee, that means we had to work less, and like we didn't have to stay as late. Okay. All right. Next question.
Our next question comes from Soulside, and Soulside would like to know about automated in-game mail.
We would love to have some kind of mail system in the game. It is on our wish list for episode 1 launch. If for some reason, and we think it'll probably get in there, but if for some reason it doesn't, it'll be one of the iterative releases that come right after. As a reminder, launch for us is very different than traditional games, since we'll be constantly adding content, features, etc. to the game.
Oh, there's a kitty.
That's a rare sighting, by the way. The fact that you're actually seeing that one is pretty uncommon. Speaking of uncommon, or at least they're hoped to be uncommon, Jack Frost wants to know when the next scheduled wipe is.
Great question, and very timely, in fact. So there's a few things that we're trying to get in for release 23, including some things related to naming and multiple characters and stuff like that. So probably release 23 will be the next one. And we're sorry we have to do wipes. It's just faster from a development standpoint for us to do wipes than it is to make every change we do backwards compatible.
And it's not just that. You guys are great about knowing that when the wipe happens, so we get to simulate a lot of the things that might happen later in the game, and the starting experience for people and seeing what they're doing. We actually get, believe it or not, we get a lot higher play rate immediately after wipes than any other time.
Okay. Next.
Redfish has an appropriate question based on his name. He would like to know about seasonality in fishing and whether that kind of seasonality will be moved to other land animals as well.
Yeah, so in my recent little write-up about fishing and how over time we're going to be adding more features, and some of those features include everything from time of day, where things like dusk and dawn are the best time to catch fish, and seasons and all the seasons affecting fish availability. Those are all things that will factor in the system. And as we implement the systems to support that, we'll also try and extrapolate and use those with other systems. For instance, reagents that are only available or more available at certain times versus others, animal behavior is different based on time of day. I mean, we already have spawners that are dynamically changing based on the time of day. So you'll notice that there are more undead spawning at night than there are at other times. So we've already got some of that working, but right now it doesn't affect our non-magic animals like bears and wolves, etc. But that's something that we've discussed and would love to add to those. Okay.
So Crazy Phil, and I always want to say his name like he's a used car salesman. I don't know why. He thinks that several things are impressive about Shroud of the Avatar, but one of the things he finds most impressive is the selected or filtered experience to be able to play with certain people based on play style and things like that. With the power of filtering, what are the chances of us featuring specific scenes that will be single-player online only or party only?
That's already functioning in the game now. So we already have scenes where, like, when you go into them, it filters it down to just your party, or scenes that are, like, for instance, the starting scene in Soul's Bridge is a single-player only scene. And it's only when you come back to it later that it's a multiplayer scene. So that's
the Necropolis is a solo player, and it's a very long solo player section of the game, and so and that will be true throughout. There's going to be the game constantly will throttle up and down, and that's actually what we hope, that as people get used to a game that throttles them up and down from solo player to multiplayer, we're hoping that kind of makes them feel comfortable with this sort of weird blended, solo player online or party-based online kinds of play, to feel like you're not in a horse race with those other people, and that you no longer feel that same disparity that I think this conflict that we had between solo player games and multiplayer games.
Okay.
Prize time?
Sure, another add-on store credit.
So the next winner of add-on store credit is Merc. Merc is added to his mercenary winnings with $10 add-on store credit.
Congratulations. All right, next.
Our next question comes from Lord Andernut, and he would like to know about the hidden effects items that are sold on the add-on store, and when we'll have more details as to what those effects will be.
That is a great question, and leads to one of the things that I've been doing a lot lately, which is, I'm going, as part of that, the schedule, we were talking about, like, when we will release and trying to get into that finishing mode. So one of the things I've been doing is going through every single item that's in our pledge rewards or in our Kickstarter promises, what's left to work on that, what features are missing, what features haven't been defined, what parts aren't, fully fleshed out. And one of those things I came up to recently were some of the things that have a mysterious effect, and specifically 3 of them. The Oracle statue head, which was a limited time available decoration that you can place in your house. The Oracle cloak and the Lord British cloak. All 3 of those things were listed as having mysterious in-game effect. And so we've been banding about various ideas, and we think we've settled on 3, but we haven't implemented them yet, so don't lawyer us later when they change, but we feel pretty confident about them. So, for instance, the Oracle cloak, when you're wearing that, actually, Lum, can you describe how that's going to work?
So what will happen with the Oracle cloak is that when you are wearing it, there is a chance that anytime the Oracle notices an action that you take and notices and notes changes to your virtues, that you'll get an in-game notification of that.
And then the Oracle statue head has a percent chance or a use per day. We haven't settled on whether it's going to be a percent chance or if it's going to be a time limited with a cooldown kind of thing. But the Oracle head will give you the ability to have direct communication with Oracle as if you had gone to an Oracle confirmatory.
Or the owner.
But only the owner of the lot on which it's placed can use it for that function. And yes, that function does include the ability to request the Oracle to change or ability to harm other Outlanders, i.e. engage in open player versus play. And then finally, my favorite, the Lord British Cloak. So it's going to have two effects. One of them is that it has a chance to hide your current health from others.
Yeah, that's going to be hopefully it'll be until you get beyond like 50% hurt or 25% hurt, your health will not move. Other people will not see your health move, which is important.
Non-party members will not see your health move,
But it's also going to have a potentially slightly detrimental effect, which is it will have a percent chance, rarely, that an object will fall from the sky and hit you. And this is related to a bit of lore around Richard and his experience with doors. So, Richard, could you tell how I got this idea?
Yes. Yeah. For those of you who were following us back in the Origin days, there was a building that, in fact, Origin's first big office building in Austin, Texas, had doors on it, very much like other office buildings. Big glass doors that are held shut by a big steel plate that is attached to the top corner of the glass door and an electromagnet that attaches to that steel plate. And so at night, since we were always working late, when people would leave the building, first thing people would do is push on the door, which was locked, so it wouldn't open. And then people would remember to press the button, which releases the electromagnet, so that you could then push the door open. Well, after nights and nights and nights and months, weeks and months, and maybe even a couple of years of people first pushing on the door, and then second pressing the button, the one bolt that, if you look at these, by the way, this is how they're all made. Go to any office building anywhere around that has this mechanism. There's only one screw in the middle of that goes through the glass plate door. There's two other pins that keep it from rotating, but there's one screw that goes front to back in that thing. And every day people were pushing on that and stripping the threads on that bolt. Until finally one night, I was walking out of the building at night, like we did so many other nights. I pushed open the door because the bolt was no longer attached. And my girlfriend at the time pressed the release button, which then released the electromagnet and the metal plate, which came from 12 or 13 feet up or so, came down, hit me on the top of the head, knocked me to the ground, busted my head open pretty good, ended up getting 17 stitches, and so that was the beginning. But it turns out that same building, since people left through multiple buildings, we found another steel plate that had come loose. This one I took down before it hit me. It was on the downstairs exit of this building. And at a separate complex later that same year, a third steel plate fell. Same basic construction. This one missed me, fortunately. But basically, in a period of a year to 2 years, it had basically 3 steel plates fall from the sky to hit me, or attempt to hit me. Only one hit me on the head. And so some of the players back then sent me a hard hat that I still have. I should go look for it. It might be just around me here. I still have a hard hat with an ankh on it to protect myself from falling debris. And in Ultima 6 or 7, whichever it was coming out at the time, the development team put in a special place where when Lord British walked through the castle, there was a brass plaque that if you clicked on that plaque right as Lord British passed through, the steel plate would hit Lord British on the head and kill him. That was the way to kill Lord British in one of the Ultimas. But we thought it would be fun if you wish to be wearing your Lord British cloak and showing support for Lord British. We also meant to say that, by the way, that function that Chris was mentioning only works if you are a follower of the virtues. So if you're going to wear your Lord British cloak and get the advantage of having your hit point status hidden from your enemies until you're, most of the way, or more than half the way killed, the cost of that is that you have to be virtuous, and the additional cost is you have to embrace some of the same risk that Lord British takes on every day, which is strange things falling from the sky and hitting you in the head.
Yeah. Although maybe we need to add the break your finger thing too. That there's a random chance every time you sit that you're going to break your finger. Okay. All right. Next question. Oh wow, it's 4:30.
Yep.
Let's keep going.
We are almost out of time. We do have time for one more. And so I queued up a question from Redfish, who would like to know when weather and the environment will start affecting Magic.
Great question, and I know Richard is very passionate about weather having game effects. So, Richard, you want to talk about some of the ideas you have for things you want weather to affect, like having it affect elementals and...
Yeah, absolutely. So and by the way, this is one of the signs to me that we are in this final push, and the fact that we're putting these things in versus cutting them is also what tells me that this game is going to wrap up every bit as powerfully as the reality crafting we put into, say, Ultima 7, which is the JIRAs that we've been adding. You've already heard me describe how we wanted seasonal weather, to where in the spring it's rainier, summer is sunnier, fall is blusterier, winter is snowier. You've already heard us talk about the seasonality shift will go into creature spawns and plant growth and resource gathering from those. We have day and night kicking into that as well. Rain will already do things like be an alternate to watering plants to let them grow. For example, tilled soil, if it rains on tilled soil, that's how you get the worms you'll use for fishing. We've already kicked in, we said not only would we want to make sure that rain might adversely affect your phoenix or your fire elemental, but even do these subtle reality crafting things like, therefore the magic spell Soothing Rain, which is really a healing spell, since it is causing a localized rain, we got to put a line of code in there to capture that event, to make sure that also might have the emergent behavior, so to speak, of adversely affecting your fire elementals and phoenixes, and maybe that should also water your plants, and just like any other rain would do. And so, or rust your armor, whatever the side effects are, we're now looking for those little cross pollinizations, so that we make all these systems work together in a purposefully complex way, so that people can find those clever, alternate uses or alternate, effects that happen due to the astronomy, the weather, the seasons, and magic.
So it's coming. I think we're aiming for not 23, but 24 to have some of those come online, along with things like agriculture, things like that. So we have time for one more prize, which I think ties to some of the early Origin Day Ultima things. So earlier this year, there was a Ultima get-together, the Festival of the Silver Serpent, and Sir Frank, Master of Coin, made a commemorative coin for that event, and he was kind enough to provide us some, and we are going to be giving lucky winner this coin.
And the winner of the Silver Serpent coin is Abercrombie McLeod. He is now going to be one of the proud owners of joining the Order of the Silver Serpent.
Very rare, very rare.
Congratulations. All right. So,
and there were complaints that we didn't have awesome prizes.
Yeah.
Now they're all going nuts when they saw that. All right. We're going to go ahead and wrap up, so let me kick it over to Richard for your final words.
Final words for me are the same as the beginning and the same as every time, which is thank you for the privilege of creating this game for you and supporting us in doing so. The devotion we have to doing the game that we believe and hear from you that you want is very high. It's a joyful journey that we're on, working hard for you. And again, thank you for giving us the opportunity. Over to you, Star and Chris.
So again, thank you everyone. Thank you for everything you do for us. We greatly appreciate it. We love what we do. We love making this game for you guys. Hopefully you see the passion that we put into it. We really do care, and we know that you do too. And so we're having a great time, and we're going to keep making good content. And I know this was the R21 Postmortem, but I'm really excited by it. I was really excited for R21 moving to youth base, but R22 is going to have a bunch of cool stuff in it too. You saw Richard.
R22 is going to rock.
Yeah, so you saw Richard playing music. We got fishing coming in. We got some new starting experience that harkens back to the Gypsy experience that players knew and loved from Ultima. You know, it's going to be pretty cool. The dragon. I mean, how could I forget the dragon? It's going to be pretty cool. It's very exciting.
And I'll second what Star says. As someone who's been in the games industry a long time and worked on a lot of projects, there tends to be this whole, the bigger a project gets, the slower development gets on it. But as a tribute to our team, we don't slow down in terms of what we get out of each release. And I feel like each release we're more excited about the stuff we have going in. It feels like we have even more rather than slowing down, we're speeding up or staying the same pace. And yeah, so R22 I'm super excited about. One, because I get to fix all the crap that's wrong in use-based system last release, which is big, so I don't have to have probably a third of the questions asking about that stuff. But two, the music stuff I think is going to be amazing, especially for the role players, and already sparking discussions of like, can we have music skills so that we can have bards who can play their flute and get people around with opponents, and those type of things. It just opens up a lot of stuff in addition to role playing. Because I think there's a lot of people who played bards like in D&D or other games who have fond memories of playing the bard, mainly because they were just really so. But anyways, things like fishing, the dragon, I mean, all sorts of crazy stuff. It's going to be great. I think this R22, and hopefully it'll be a more polished release. I know that's also another concern. We will have a dedicated polished release soon, but hopefully we'll get some of the nastier bugs cleaned up with cards.
And that leaves us with me. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for your participation in the chat room. It's been a wild romp. And I know that we didn't get to everyone's question. We never have time, even though we do extend these Hangouts, so we can try to at least get to more of them. But thank you for posting your questions, for participating in the chatter back and forth. And if you ever see one of the devs, we're usually red, in chat, feel free to ask us. We're very open with the community and like talking with you guys. So definitely hit us up if you see us in chat, and I'll be around a little bit later this afternoon to answer some questions that you still might have in the chat room. So thank you again. We'll do it next month around the same time to talk about Release 22. See you then.
Alrighty, and there you have it. Release 21 Postmortem comes to an end. And we still have Lord British standing here with us for a few minutes, hanging out with all the good people. Always glad to see him join us here. As I've said it once, I'll say it again. Lord British does come out, he does play the game, he does interact with everybody in the crowd. That is actually Richard playing on the other side, commenting with the crowd here, as well as answering some of these odd questions that are taken here. And they watch the questions that they're asked in game, questions that are asked in chat, questions that are whispered to them as well. They do listen and hear everything that the players have to say to them. So with that, we're going to be heading out. Jack, are you still with us over there?
I'm with you, but I just closed the stream and logged out.
Alrighty, well, we still have Lord British hanging out with us here on stage for another minute or two.
I need to do some stuff around the house, and you're about to head off for dinner.
Actually, I am not, but that's another story. We'll talk about that later.
Yes. Are you still alive?
Yes, I am.
Okay, I'll let you finish it.
Got Lord British still hanging out here. Never know what just might happen.
You did wish me happy birthday.
As did many other people. You didn't think I was going to let you get away with the day without doing that on stream now, did you?
Hey, I did it to myself as well. I tried to actually pose the question, will the devs sing me happy birthday? But I will let you in a little secret. Tonight's dinner is a filet mignon, baked potatoes, and a salad.
Oh, lucky you. Alrighty, and with that, Lord British has departed. And we are going to bring this broadcast to a close here. I want to thank everybody for joining us here today. This is Laz signing out on NBNN. You were just watching the Release 21 Postmortem with the Portalarium staff and crew, as well as Lord British live here in Owl's Head at Briar's Cafe. Thanks for watching. We'll see y'all again next time.